Hello everyone, I'm very excited to be speaking at JSWorld USA today. Today I'm going to be talking about how to build a personal brand for yourself as a software engineer. Before I start, I would like to introduce myself. So my name is Gift Egwuenu. I work as a front-end consultant at Passionate People, and I'm also a tech content creator. So I create content for developers on my personal blog and on YouTube as well. So today I said I was going to talk to you about personal branding, but I would like to start with, what does a personal brand mean to you? I think it's important to note that a personal brand is about building an identity for yourself that people can relate to. So I really like this definition of what a personal brand is. A personal brand is a process of developing a mark that is created around your name and your career. You then use this mark to express and communicate your skills, personality, and values. I really like this quote from Chris Tucker. It says, "Your personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room." And you should remember that. Are you actually thinking about this statement? Do you think about what people communicate your brand with? That's if you've already built one for yourself, or are you just curious to see what people think about you when you're not in the room? Right? It's kind of an interesting quote, I would say. And now, I would like to see that a lot of people might think that this is not actually very important, or they don't need to build a brand, which is totally fine. You can as well just work as a software engineer, software developer, and be okay, right? But why should you even go through the, hassle of building a personal brand for yourself? What's in it for you? I'd like to share some reasons why I feel building a brand is important. And the first reason I would like to share is, it helps with career advancement. What do I mean by this? I mean that when you build a brand for yourself, in the process of doing that, you're going to start getting opportunities that would help you advance your career. It could be that you are very passionate about sharing your skills and your knowledge with your audience, and one time you decide that you want to, move up your current position, and you want to start looking for jobs, because you've built a personal brand for yourself and you have a brand identity that companies and people can relate to. Then that's a great way for you to land a job. Like, in the midst of a lot of developers, you stand out already because you already have a personal brand that's share value and share skills with the community, and then these companies can relate to you because of that. I think that's one reason why you should consider building a brand for yourself. Another reason is because it helps you build a reputation. This is kind of similar to what I just said, right? A personal brand can communicate not just your identity, but also the value that you provide your audience. And not just that, it shows the value you provide in a genuine way. Your brand helps you build a reputation and establish an image for yourself in the minds of people, and then people can trust you and relate to you based on that level, and based on the skills and the value that you share with your audience. So that's another important thing. So if you're very concerned or conscious about how people see you, or what people think about you, then building a brand for yourself genuinely is going to give you that. It's going to help you build a reputation for yourself. And finally, it also helps you increase visibility online. By building a personal brand, committing to building a brand can help you be more visible online. For example, if your goal is to sell a product as a creator, or if your goal as a freelancer is to land more clients, or even if your goal as a developer is to potentially find a new job, building a personal brand for yourself is going to help you achieve that, because by so doing, you're increasing your visibility. Say that you're trying to help more developers pivot their careers in tech by sharing, content that would help developers grow as they go on their journey in tech, right? If you're constantly doing that, then companies or clients or people generally can relate to that and relate to your brand. So that way you're building more visibility for yourself and for your brand as well. So that's another reason why I feel you can consider building a personal brand for yourself. Now that I've talked about, I talked about increasing visibility as a reason, career advancement as another reason, and I also talked about building a reputation. I would also like to say that all of this works, but it takes a lot of work at the end of the day to build a brand for yourself. It does not just happen overnight. So, how can you go about building a personal brand for yourself? I have some pointers that I'd like to share with you. I think I have 4 of them right here, and trying these 4 things out is going to help you achieve what you want, which is to build a brand identity for yourself. And the first one I like to share is that you should create a platform. What do I mean by creating a platform? Basically, what I mean here is you should create a platform for yourself. So it could be a personal blog, a website where you share the value that you provide, or where you talk about, tech related things that you're interested in. It could also be that you're active on, LinkedIn, or you're active on Twitter, where you also share the work that you're doing. One thing that is important is having a platform helps you communicate, to your audience, the skills and the value that you provide to them. So I'm going to talk a bit more about how to go about creating a platform for yourself in the later part of this talk. But I just want to let you know that creating a platform could mean several different things. It could be that you are on YouTube sharing your knowledge. It could be that you are mostly creating content or making helpful resources for developers, or it could also be that you build helpful tools and you open source them. So there are several different ways for you to build a platform. Another way on how you can go about building a brand for yourself is by sharing knowledge. So sharing knowledge on the things that you're interested in, the things that you're very knowledgeable in, is also a very good way. At the end of the day, you find that you're only trying to share your knowledge because of course you care and you want people to learn from you as well. But at the end of the day, you find out that by so doing, you're also building a brand around your name, because people can relate to the things that you're sharing. Another thing I'd like to highlight here is that you should always be yourself. I'm talking about personal branding, right? It's all about you. It's all about you. So if you are on this journey of building a personal brand for yourself and you try to emulate other people, you're not honest about yourself in the process, I think maybe you're trying to be like somebody else, right? And you want to emulate how they are perceived, right? I don't think that's helpful, because at the end of the day, you want people to, find that you're being genuine about how you feel, or how you share the content that you're sharing, or how you share the knowledge that you're sharing. So it's very important to also be yourself in this process and not try to be other people. And finally, crafting a bio, a persona also helps you, find out first what values you are and the values that you can provide to people. So this is also a very important step in going through the process of building a brand for yourself. Now, I have this thing that's quite helpful, and I feel it's also going to be helpful for you all listening. So it's called the 12-month strategy. Like I said earlier, the process of building a brand is not done overnight, right? You have to consistently work to achieve that status. And I found credits to Jason Alba from Pluralsight. He has a personal branding course, which I took a couple of years ago, that helps me, and I'd like to share his strategy. So he talked about this 12-month strategy that have picked up ever since, and it's basically doing these 12 different things in a span of 12 months. Now, you can either choose to do this however you want to. So depending on how much time you have to invest in this process, but you can decide to make it a 2 month strategy, a 3 month strategy, just taking taking into consideration that you can decide to pace this however you want to. So basically, it is that you are specifying that you want to do these 12 things, one thing, pick one thing to do every month in the span of 12 months. And it's going to help you generally build a brand for yourself. So the first one here I have is for you to define a niche. So think about the area in tech, because you can't really build like a reputation for yourself in literally every area. So think about an area that you know that you are you're very knowledgeable in, and you're very interested in. So pick that area. It could be that you're very interested in front-end development, or you could even go deeper and say you're interested only in UI development, or you like design systems, or yeah, it could be any of that. So make sure you define that niche. And this could be a thing that you've already been thinking about before now, that you know you are more interested in this area of tech than this other area. So it could be that you find this out in literally one day, or it could take a bit of time for you to just think about it. Another thing you could do is to create a tagline here, meaning how do you want, like, when people hear your name, what's the first thing that they should relate you to? Creating a tagline for yourself is like saying, I am a front-end engineer and I create value in so and so area. And just keeping it, and making sure that you know that this is how people perceive you, and this is the value that you're creating, or the value you want to start creating. 30-second speech is also quite important, because now we are mostly remote, but when things were more open and people would go out to like conferences or meet up, when you meet up with people, you want to be able to introduce yourself to them in a very short amount of time, like not just talking about, oh, my name is Gift, but also saying like, my name is Gift, and I'm a front-end engineer, I also write content, just creating something that actually shares the value that you and the skills that you have is also important. So you can also think about creating a 30-second speech. Crafting a bio comes again. So you can decide to actually follow all of this the way that I have it outlined, or just do what works for you. Some of you might have already done some of this and you've not done another. So just pick literally, this is like a template, right? Pick whatever works for you. And if you feel like adding more things, then that's totally fine. I'll just go over some of the other ones that I have. Going further, creating business cards is also important, depending on this is optional as well, because sometimes these days a lot of people don't use business cards anymore. But if you're in like a very professional setting, you want to be able to share your contacts or just share your portfolio with people. And that brings me to the next one. Having a great LinkedIn portfolio is also very important, like making sure that on LinkedIn you always update all of your work history, your work, where you've been working, where you currently work, and share all the things that you're doing on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like a professional platform where you should be always networking and meeting people and connecting to people. Professional headshots, this is also something you can do, like making sure that on all your social media profiles that you have like an image that people can relate you to. So a lot of times you check social media, you see people using pictures of cats as their profile picture, and you're trying to build a brand. Like, people don't want to relate you to a cat, right? So, even if it's not a professional headshot, at least a clear picture of yourself is also important. Or it could also be an animated picture. I see that a lot, which is also very cool. But yeah, we want to see you, and we want to know who is behind the brand, right? Personal portfolio is also important. When you go on Google and someone searches for your name, you want to be able to see that your name or your website or your portfolio is showing up, right? It's very important. And the other things I'll share here, the other things on the list are also things that you can look into, like having testimonials. If you're a freelancer from your previous clients, is also important. Creating a blog, sharing all the contents that you love, sharing things that you want to learn, or the things that you want people to learn from you. Also, speaking at events is another way of building a brand. And finally, community building is also another way of building a brand. So you can decide to follow all of these that I've outlined for you, or just pick what works for you, or do it in less time, or do it in more time. It really doesn't matter. But the fact that you are actually taking the steps to build a brand for yourself is what really matters. Now, moving forward, I also have another thing that I'd like to share that's also related to brand building, and it's called learning in public. I think this is the ultimate plan. Learning in public means that you are consistently sharing your knowledge publicly, you're learning openly, because I find that a lot of people learn in private and they lurk. And I mean, you can definitely choose to do that, but by learning in public, you're already putting yourself out there, which is the idea that we shared earlier of how you should build a personal brand. Learning in public is the fastest way to learn, grow your career, and build a network in tech. And it can be done in several different ways, which I'm going to be sharing. How do you learn in public, or how do you actually go about the process, right? I know that right now, a lot of these things that are on this list, I have done them and they are really helpful. And I've seen a lot of people also in the community that are currently doing them as well. So it's a proven system that works. So if you write blogs already, which is great, but if you don't, consider doing writing blogs or tutorials or cheat sheets. Those are ways that you can learn in public, or you can build a brand for yourself. Speaking at meetups and conferences is another way. You can ask and answer things on Stack Overflow or Reddit, or even Twitter as well. Always avoid walled gardens like Slack, Discord. Those are not public. Make sure that you're sharing. So if you find that there is something that you recently learned, I mean, you can also post it on Slack, which is generally okay, but also seeing how you can also share it in a more public platform like Twitter, for example, so more people can find out the cool thing that you learned or the cool thing that you want to share. Making videos on YouTube or Twitch, having streaming on Twitch is also other ways, because on YouTube or Twitch streams, I see a lot of developers right now streaming, and what they do is either they're trying to learn a specific technology, or they're trying to teach some other developers something new. And I find that that's another great way of creating like the whole learning in public thing, which is actually very cool. I also do that on my YouTube videos as well. So I definitely have tried a lot of this. And the last thing I would like to share with you is starting a newsletter. That's another way. So it could be a newsletter about all the cool things that you found that week, or it could be a newsletter on the latest things in your specific industry. So it could be also a newsletter on some of the projects that you're working on. It could literally mean, and it could be anything that's related to you and provides value to other people. So do you think that somebody will subscribe to your newsletter because they want to find out about specific things that you're sharing because it's giving them value? Then go for it. And going further, I want to talk about a bit about the benefits. So I've talked about what a personal branding is. How do you build a brand, right? Now, why should you, or what are the benefits you get from building a brand? The first one here is job opportunities. And I've seen this firsthand. By the process of building a brand, creating value to your audience, right, you start getting opportunities that you never even knew you could have gotten in the first place, because people are relating to you. People are finding out that the value that you provide is actually helpful to them. um, this is one way that you can benefit from the whole personal branding thing. It also helps you to build your network, because you are consistently sharing, because you're consistently providing value to your audience, to your community. you tend to connect with other people that are also doing the same thing. So I'll give you an example. I'm always active. I'm always active on social media, so Twitter, LinkedIn, and I'm always sharing the work that I'm doing. I'm always sharing things that I'm learning, and I started noticing that people that are following me or people that are engaging with the things that I'm sharing are also doing something similar. So it you tend to build a network within your industry, and you tend to build a network within to go deeper, you tend to build a network within your specific community. So that's another benefit you get out of building a network for yourself. And finally, you get influence and you get to build a reputation as well, because then people can relate to you because of the work that they see that you churn out. I think a lot of times when I find that checking out people and I come across a name that I already know before, I the first thing that pops up in my head is what I can relate that person to. So for instance, I see let me give you an example, Chris Koya, who is the founder of CSS Tricks. When I find that I'm scrolling on Twitter and I see that name, the first thing that pops up in my head is CSS, front end development. When people start relating to you because of the value or the skills that you already have, and by so doing you've been communicating to your audience, then it means that you're already on the right path of personal branding, I would say. So it also helps you build influence, which is also very great. I like share some tips that has worked for me on how to consistently build a brand, because I find that building a brand is not something you do and then stop doing. It's like a continuous journey. You have to go through it like literally the entire time. So it becomes an habit. It becomes a habit for you rather than a thing you just do once and stop doing. Um, so the first tip I'd like to share with you is that you should stay consistent, because you only see results when you keep consistent with the journey of building a brand for yourself. Another thing is that you should always try to create valued content. So if you want people to relate to you and you want people to relate to your personal brand identity, then you should make sure that whatever it is you're creating or putting out is actually valuable to the specific audience that you're trying to create it for. Another tip I like to share is that you should join a community. Now, a lot of people are in different communities where, it could be an online community, it could be an in-person community. Right now, there's not a lot activity going on for in-person communities. I hope there will be soon, but there are several different online communities that you could join. I'm currently in several ones that I really like, and some of them are on Discord, some of them are on Slack, some of them are on Twitter. So making sure that you are part of a community is also going to be helpful, because you can then find more people that are also on the same path as you are. And that's another way of building a network for yourself. Follow successful people. It's also helpful because for me, I find that when I follow people that are already successful in my field, I learn a lot from those people. I see what they are doing and how I could emulate some of those things. And another thing is I like share is always share your work. Sharing your work is very, very important, because that's the only way people then, you know, find the work that you're currently doing, right? Always be learning and iterate on what you're doing. And these are the tips that I have to share for you on your journey to building a personal brand. Uh, I'd like to talk a bit about how I started mine and where I am currently. So I started being more active on Twitter, like funny enough, at the beginning, I did not know that I was on the path to building a brand for myself. It only got to me, I think, around 2018 when I was already doing it. But how I started my journey was I became very active online in 2017. Then I started my personal blog in 2018. I gave my first talk in 2018 as well. I started making YouTube videos and in 2019 and became more consistent in that area. Because of all the things that I've done over the last 2 to 3 years, I then became an Auth0 Ambassador, a Microsoft MVP, a Cloudinary MDE, a Nuxt Ambassador in 2020 and 2021. All of these things happened to me because, I have been consistently creating a personal brand for myself. Currently, I'm still growing and I'm still improving. Every day I try to learn something new. Every day I try to teach something new to my own community. So yeah, that's my story. I would also like to share some people in the community that I find that they have great personal brands that you could also see, check them out and just see what they are doing differently and how you can, learn from these people. Angie Jones, when I hear about Angie Jones, I first thing that comes to my mind is testing, right? Because she has built a brand for herself in that area, right? So I can relate to her with that. These are other people: Sean Wang, Stephanie Morillo, Prosper, Neda, Alice Pitel, Ada, and Scott Ansuman. These are all people that are doing great with their brand building on in the tech community that I feel like you all can relate to. So definitely check them out. And finally, just think about what are these people doing differently? How can I actually, learn from them and learn how they are doing theirs and is successful for them and how I can apply it to my own journey. And just to reiterate all the things that I said about, going on to build a brand for yourself, make sure that you're trying all of these things. You're writing blogs, you're speaking at meetups or conferences, you ask or answer things on Stack Overflow. Avoid the wall garden. Make sure that you're sharing things that you're learning or things that you have learned on a public platform. Make YouTube videos or Twitch stream or start a newsletter. By the way, these are all optional things, so you can pick one or two of them and not have to do everything, right? So pick what works for you. And yeah, that's pretty much all I want to share. So thank you so much for listening to me talk about personal branding. I hope you picked up something from it. If you'd like to check me out, I am on Twitter and LinkedIn and Instagram, as well as Laura Gift _. And you can also check out my website. This talk is already online, so you can find it, the slides, at this link URL right here. Thank you so much, and thanks for having me.